Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Krystal, what are we talking about?
So Alex Acosta tried to defend himself yesterday in the wake of these new Epstein revelations. And also, the president is having his big tech summit today.
That's right. And a news conference afterwards. So a lot coming up today on Rising.
Morning, everyone. So, Saagar, what's the latest?
Well, Secretary Acosta tried to explain himself yesterday regarding his former prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
And we had to weigh the issue of how much to disclose against the issue of if we have to go to trial. We want to win. We want to put Epstein away. And talking about this would allow him to make the argument at trial that their testimony was compromised.
So to give everybody a recap, Secretary Alexander Acosta used to be the U.S. attorney in Miami. At that time, he was responsible for prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that prosecution has come under significant scrutiny in recent months when it was revealed that basically Jeffrey Epstein was given only 13 months for running a criminal pedophilic ring in which he would abuse several young girls at his Palm Beach mansion. He was given only 13 months in the Palm Beach County Jail, during which 6 days a week he was allowed to leave for work 12 hours a day. It was a sweetheart deal, and now he's been re-indicted by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, where it looks like he will be going to prison for quite a long time. But there's still a lot of questions from Secretary Acosta's explanation. Basically, Secretary Acosta blames the state attorney for Florida, saying that the state attorney's grand jury had only returned an indictment which would allow Jeffrey Epstein to walk free. So Alex Acosta stood up yesterday and he said that the U.S. Attorney's Office stepped in, said this is unacceptable, and they at least got Jeffrey Epstein to register as a sex offender and go to jail. They didn't talk about the sweetheart conditions, though. But there's so many questions that remain. He blamed the state attorney, but the state attorney's office says that there's no way that the U.S. attorney would ever take a back deal here. He also says that he charged and he prosecuted the information to the best of his ability. But the Miami Herald revealed in November 2018 that his office had a 53-page indictment with several testimonies from victims and other girls who testified to Epstein's misdeeds and showed just how much of a predatory pedophile that the man is. None of these things remain answered. However, it seems that Secretary Acosta is safe for now. That performance yesterday in his nearly hour-long news conference was a way for him in order to secure his position with President Trump, who's been very upset in recent days about the cable news coverage tying his labor secretary to this Jeffrey Epstein prosecution. So, Krystal, unfortunately, or I guess, I shouldn't take an editorial judgment here. He's safe for now. I have no reason to believe that the man is lying, but I would still like to see all of those questions answered.
I mean, this was a bunch of BS. It wasn't even legally proper the way they handled this.
Right.
Several of the girls who were involved, they didn't even know that there was a deal that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, this is total ass-covering nonsense. And you're right, it's to an audience of one. Right? Trump doesn't care about the facts or the truth. He cares about how he presents himself and whether he's able to push back on a cable news narrative. But this thing isn't going away. I mean,
it won't go away, and we're still going to be asking questions.
The details are going to continue to come out. The trial is going to play out. We're going to learn more and more.
Right.
More girls are still coming forward saying that he raped them. So I don't think that he is safe. I don't think he should be safe. I think he should be gone. Think about this. This is the Secretary of Labor. This is the person who is supposed to be in charge of making sure America's working people are protected and safe. How can you trust a guy like this?
Yeah.
I mean, just let him go. Let him go.
Still going to be asking a lot of questions. Krystal, what do you take a look at?
So President Trump is hosting his social media summit today. It's gotten a lot of attention, mostly for the racists and trolls who are included on the invite list. There's QAnon promoter Bill Mitchell. There's the guy who said Kamala Harris wasn't an American black, earning himself a retweet from Don Jr. There's the consistently fraudulent James O'Keefe of Project Veritas. The list of totally credible and serious figures who totally deserve entree to the White House goes on and on. The whole event, like the Trump presidency itself, is a show and a fraud, but it scores some extra fraud points for this reason. All of these figures are seemingly brought together by the shared belief that the tech giants are all hopelessly liberal and biased against conservatives. This notion is a complete farce. Now, sure, there is plenty of liberal virtue signaling by big tech, but a glimpse under the hood tells a very different story. For example, companies like Google and Amazon love to talk a good game on climate change. Both signed a public pledge of support for the Paris Climate Accords that, of course, the Trump administration has walked away from. But as the New York Times recently reported, the two tech giants were all too happy to sponsor a big Game of Thrones-themed gala for a think tank that is best known for what? Climate change denial. Why did they do it? Well, apparently this think tank also opposes the sort of antitrust action that could pose a threat to their corporate bottom line. So to hell with that whole fighting climate change thing. Google and Amazon belong to a different kind of Green Party. Facebook is another member of that same Green Party. There's no way that a liberal company would outsource their most difficult, grueling, and disturbing work so terrible it routinely causes PTSD to low-paid contractors in order to skimp on labor protections and benefits. Don't even get me started on the anti-union, anti-humanity approach that Amazon takes to its warehouse workers, where employees are worked so hard they told journalists they wear diapers or pee in bottles to keep from being fired for taking a bathroom break. Does that sound like a progressive company to you? These giant tech companies are not progressive, they are pro-corporate. They live and breathe and make every move to maximize shareholder value. Any seemingly political move that is made is calculated from a profit-maximizing perspective and no other. Now, in fairness, Trump and his band of merry wingers are not alleging that big tech's labor practices are progressive. They're specifically asserting that big tech has a liberal bias when it comes to the content that they allow and disallow on their platforms. But even on this one narrow charge, there's just simply not a lot of evidence to back up the claim. Here's the decidedly not liberal James Pethokoukis over at the also decidedly not liberal American Enterprise Institute. He says there's actually a significant amount of data available to help analyze this bias issue. A Twitter executive at the congressional hearing on big tech noted that in 2018 there were 33 million MAGA tweets with hashtag MAGA, the fifth most tweeted hashtag. And a recent internal Twitter study found that tweets by Democratic and Republican members of Congress perform pretty much the same. Other research has determined that partisan Facebook pages have roughly equal engagement, and actually, right-leaning pages in total have a bigger presence on Facebook than those that lean left. The right, in fairness, is better at memes. Pethokoukis goes on to describe a Columbia study that did find an overwhelming number of the prominent accounts that were banned in recent years were Trump-supporting as compared to Clinton-supporting. However, that same study also found those accounts to be of the sort that most people, frankly, would want banned. They were white nationalists, Holocaust deniers, and others from the actually deplorable set. Which really brings us back to the Trump social media summit. The ugly truth that the tech execs want to dance around is that more Trump-supporting accounts get banned because more Trump-supporting accounts deserve to be banned. That's why so much of the Trump guest list appears to be noxious, fringe, and regrettable. Trust me, in case you haven't noticed, I am no defender of big tech. I think they are a particularly odious outgrowth of late-stage capitalism that has exploited us, rewired our brains to be like junkies, and generally impoverished the soul of humanity. But it offends me greatly to have anyone claim that they are part of some progressive project. It's not. All of these companies are just like any other big corporation, and the sooner we accept that for them, the bottom line is the bottom line, the sooner we can start doing something about their contribution to the partisan hellscape that is our online politics. Now please, kind YouTube lords, promote this video in your algorithms so that it may prosper.
Getting to the heart of this thing, which is we still need YouTube.
Need you,
in order to promote this
Love
content.
you.
Well, I don't have time in order to dispute many of the incorrect things Krystal said, but we'll get into that eventually.
Next up on Rising. What is an anti-endorsements list, and how does it relate to Tom Steyer's entrance into the 2020 election?
David Sirota, presidential candidate Bernie Sanders' top aide and speechwriter, discusses the latest from the Sanders campaign when Rising continues.